Yeah, good morning, everyone. So, in our yesterday class, we have talked about banks, organization, payment methods, and the consolidation group. Today, we are going to see the payroll definition and elements definition. Okay, so let's log in. Okay, we go to setup and maintenance. Post deployment payroll. Here we have payroll definition. So basically you have to set the scope here, but scope is already set to US legislative data group, so we can directly go to the payroll definition. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we will create a new payroll definition. So what is payroll definition here? So basically, this is to differentiate the employees where which employee is getting paid, whether it is a monthly or bi-weekly or weekly, depending on the client requirement. And also sometimes, if you take India, usually the payroll period is monthly, so we get our salary monthly. But if you look at the US, usually the payroll period would be a bi-weekly, so all employees would get their salaries bi-weekly. Yes, in US, you have bi-weekly and also monthly as well. Okay, so suppose in our organization, let's say client, the organization, there are 100 employees where maybe 70 employees are getting paid bi-weekly, and remaining 20 employees are getting paid monthly. So how are you going to process their salaries? So when I run the payroll, so our system knows that, okay, this particular person is bi-weekly person and another person is the monthly person. So whenever I run the payroll, this person's salary should be processed bi-weekly and that person's salary should be processed monthly. So how does the system know that? So that's what the payroll definition comes into. That's where the payroll definition comes into picture. So you actually define the payroll. Then you attach this payroll definition to the employee. So whenever you run the payroll, whoever belongs to that payroll, those people's salaries will be processed. Okay, so let's see, US LDG. So everything we are defining under US legislative data group. I'm defining from, let's say, 1/1/2019. You can just give 1/1/1951. It doesn't matter. Okay, so this is a page, the definition page, the basic values, basic details page. So give a name here. So I'm giving Aztec, let's say, bi-weekly payroll. I'm just giving 1, 2, 3. Because you see, as I said, people have created a lot of payrolls here in that same name. So I'm just giving this one. Then reporting name. Reporting name is like a reporting purpose. You see, payroll name to use in processes such as external payroll provider extract. You see, maybe I am sending this payroll information to ADP or any other third-party system using interface or extract, HCM extract. So there, I don't want to send their payroll names like this. I just wanted to send like bi-weekly payroll. These people are bi-weekly payroll, those people are weekly payroll, these people are monthly payroll, like that. So that name, reporting name, you can just give or you can ignore it. It's not a mandatory field. Then your consolidation group. So we talked about yesterday, right? Consolidation group. So abstract, we created already consolidation group. So let's say, for example, in our organization, I have 4 different payrolls, like manager payroll, clerical payroll, maybe factory payroll, like 3 payrolls. So I wanted to group all these payrolls under one consolidation group, so that when I generate reports, usually that report shows all the employees belongs to all these payrolls. So you want that, you can just, basically it is mandatory to create a consolidation group. Even if you have one payroll, still you're gonna create the consolidation group with the same name and attach that consolidation group. Okay. Then period type. So this is where you say you say to the system that, okay, this particular payroll, if employee belongs to this payroll, he's going to be bi-weekly or weekly or monthly. Monthly calendar is like monthly payroll and all. You have other things, but yeah, we never have annual payroll, right? No one gets salary annually, but yeah, it's there. If you see frequency of your payroll cycle. So frequency means repeating. So if you say bi-weekly payroll, the frequency is bi-weekly cycle. Every bi-weekly, this particular payroll can be processed. So monthly means monthly. So for now, I am just taking as a US, so I'm just keeping as a bi-weekly payroll. Then ledger. Ledger, if you are implementing finance also, along with your HR, then you take this ledger information from the finance person, and then you attach that particular ledger here, primary ledger, basically from accounting perspective. Okay. Now, currently we don't have, so I'm not going to attach, but yeah, you can attach. Allow negative payments. What happens here if I enable this checkbox? So what's going to happen? Just keep it here. So basically, pop-up shows here what is the functionality of this checkbox. But anyway, I will tell you. This allow negative payment, if you enable this checkbox, better I will go by example. So let's say there are 50 people belongs to this payroll, then I have run this payroll. So all those 50 people's salaries are going to be processed. Let's say in that particular 50 employees, there is one particular employee whose salary is processed in negative. Okay, whose salary is processed negative, meaning his net salary has become a negative amount. Okay, now when I run the prepayments process, we are going to talk about all these processes. We have a sequential payroll processes available, like retro process, payroll process, prepayment process, transfer to accounting process, like that. So when you run the payroll, yes, payroll is going to be processed for all the employees, and then their salaries are going to be processed, whether it is positive amount or negative amount, that's fine. But when I run the prepayment process, if I enable this checkbox, that particular negative amount is going to link to the corresponding bank account. We will talk in detail when we talk about this prepayment process anyway. But for now, just remember that if you enable this process, if you enable this checkbox, system allows to process to prepayments, this particular negative payments. Otherwise, if you don't enable, when you run the payroll, yes, all employee salaries will be processed. And then when you run the prepayment process, whoever got negative payment, net salary as a negative amount, their particular salaries will not be processed. Not payroll, the prepayments will not be processed. We will talk about what is prepayment, what does it do. Okay.
Srinivas, in which scenarios the amount comes negative? Like, can you just give an example?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So let's say the person employee salary is 10,000. So let's say monthly I am getting 10,000 as a salary. Okay. So what I did, I have taken a loan. Fine. So let's say I have taken a loan amount of 10,000. So every month, I have given instruction to my HR that, okay, you can deduct 2,000 from my monthly salary. Okay. So, if not 2,000, let's say 5,000, for example. Okay. Because I wanted to close it at earliest. So, 2 months deduction, or let's say 3 months deduction, 3,000, 3,000, 4,000. Like that, I wanted to deduct that amount. First month, let's say January salary, I got 10,000. Fine. February salary, I have applied 10,000 advance. So I got 10,000 plus 10,000, 20,000. I mean, I am excluding these tax calculations or other things. I'm just giving a general scenario. So 20,000 I will get in the month of February. 10,000 is my salary. 10,000 is my salary advance. Okay. Now I told my HR that, okay, please deduct first month 3,000, next month 3,000, and next month 4,000 deduction. So what happens here in the month of March? How much salary I get?
5,000.
No. 3,000 deduction means 7,000 I will get it. Right? My salary is 10,000. I said, okay, first month deduct 3,000, second month deduct 3,000, third month deduct 4,000. That's what I said. Total 10,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, when you deduct 3,000 in the month of March, I get 7,000 salary. Okay, fine. Now coming to the April month. So what is my salary? 10,000. How much amount I am yet to pay? 7,000. Right? 3,000 I have already paid as in the month of March. So another 7,000 balance is there. Loan amount I have to repay. So in the month of April, another 3,000 should be deducted. So in that case, another 3,000 also deducted. So I am getting April month also, let's say 7,000 salary. Fine. April month is also done. Now coming to the May month. So May month, I am supposed to get 6,000 because 4,000 remaining amount is there. So I am yet to get 6,000. But in the month of May month, due to some reason, I have worked only 10 days. I didn't work completely. Maybe some leave or unpaid leave, or due to any reason, I have worked only 10 days. So what is the salary I get in the month of generally if my salary is 10,000, I worked only 10 days in the month. How much salary I will get it? Maybe 3,300, something like that I will get it. Okay. So my nets in the month of May, my net salary is 3,300, but there is a deduction called 4,000, my salary advance. So if you deduct that amount, my balance will go into the negative. Okay. That is one scenario. Second scenario is same. 10,000 is my salary. 10,000 I have taken loan this month. Let's say January. So for January I got 20,000. February, what happened? In the month of February 15th, I have resigned and I'm leaving the organization immediately, maybe within 10 days or 1 week notice. So if you calculate February salary for 15 days, for my salary is 10,000 per month. If I am working only 15 days, I get 5,000 monthly salary. I mean, for February month salary. But I have taken loan advance of 10,000. So the total 10,000 has to be deducted because I have resigned. So you have to recover the 10,000 amount as well. So my balance will go to negative as a 5,000. So these are such scenarios where you see negative payments. Okay.
I got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So now coming to the first period end date here. So what is this first period end date? So basically, when you define the payroll, we are going to give in the next step, we are going to give up to how many years you have to generate payroll periods. So usually if my salary is monthly salary, for example, my salary is monthly salary. Now I am defining this payroll definition from January 1st, 2020, for example. So usually I will define for 10 years. So next 10 years, my payroll periods will be generated January 1st to 31st January 2020. 1st February to 28th February 2020, 1st March to 31st March 2020. Like that, monthly, every month is one payroll period, and these payroll periods are going to be generated for next 10 years. We are giving that value 10 in the next step. So, what is the first period in the Fusion system? That's what you are going to define here. Suppose my salary is bi-weekly payroll. So what I am doing, I am taking a 2020. I am giving as a 19th is my first payroll period end date in the system, meaning I have defined this payroll. Maybe I am going live. I am going live on January 1st, 2020. So from this moment onwards, from this moment, I am processing all my employee salaries in the Fusion system. So first period, what is the first? Obviously, if you say bi-weekly payroll, generally it starts with Monday to Sunday, bi-weekly. So I can't go with 30 because I'm live. My system is live from January 1st. So up to 5th, I'm going to process in my old system, legacy system, whatever I am currently using. But I'm using from 6th onwards, whatever payroll I am processing, those payrolls will be processed in Fusion system. So what is the first period? 6th to 19th is my first period. So you have to say 19th January. First period. First time you are processing this payroll in the system, that period you are going to define the period end date. Payroll period start date, 6th, payroll period end date 19th. This is one period. Second period, payroll period start date 20, payroll period end date 2nd February. 3rd February payroll period start date. Like that, payroll periods are going to be generated for number of years. Okay, here I am defining 6th to 19th is my first payroll, meaning first time in this Fusion system, after system live, I am processing all my employee salaries for this period. Before that, all my salaries are in my legacy system. Whatever my previous system the client has used, in that system, my payroll processes are there. First time I'm running from 6th to 19th. So when I define 6th to 19th and bi-weekly, system automatically thinks, okay, this is a bi-weekly payroll period. He put it as a 19th. So the period is 6th to 19th. Then it will automatically take the second period, third period, fourth period, fifth period, like that, continuously. That is called first period end date. Okay. Then default payment method. So again, organizational payment method. So remember, we have defined payment methods, whether we wanted to pay salaries through check or through bank transfer, etc. Okay. So those payment methods you have to link here. I'm coming to here, this default payment method anyway. So what is our payroll period? Payroll payment methods we are going to see. What is this? Yeah, Abstract bank transfer method. I think so. Okay, so this bank transfer is ours and this check pay is ours. Okay, so abstract bank transfer method. Yeah, 19th we have defined. Also, I am linking our check payment method here. Because these payment methods, if I don't link here, you cannot use these payment methods for your employee salary payments. So I'm telling the system that for this payroll, these two payment methods are my valid payment methods. Yes, I can use this or I can use that. That I am going to link in my employee screen. Basically, the moment when I link these two, when I attach this payroll to the employee, these two payment methods are available to attach to the employee. So I can attach bank transfer or I can attach check payment method. If I don't link here, so system will not identify, okay, for this payroll, what are the payment methods available in the system? So you cannot attach payment methods to the employee, so you cannot pay the salaries. Now this coming to the default payment method. So in this default payment method, you will not be able to see bank transfer methods. You will see only check payment methods or cash payment methods. Why? You see here I'm bank transfer we have defined, but when you see the drop down, there is no bank transfers, only whoever is defined all this check or cash. Maybe no one has defined cash because US legislation doesn't have any cash payment methods. So all check payment methods are available, no bank transfer methods. Why? What is the reason? Okay, because of this functionality. So first of all, let us try to understand what is this default payment method. So the name suggests default. For example, meaning by default this payroll is using this payment method as a organization payment method by default. So what does that mean? Suppose, let's say I have hired 10 employees in this month. Okay, so all those 10 employees, when you hire, obviously you are going to enter their employment information, personal information, and the payroll like this. You are going to attach this payroll, and everything you have entered, but you forgot to enter his bank details. Maybe one employee you did not enter his bank accounts. So when you didn't enter his bank account, and then you have processed this employee salary. So when you run the prepayments, how does system know that, okay, this person should get this amount into, how am I going to pay? Because system sees that, okay, there is no bank account for this employee attached in the employment screen. So in that case, this comes into the picture. The system sees, okay, whoever doesn't have any bank accounts, by default, all of those employee salaries will be processed as check payment method. That is what the default payment method is. By default, all employee salaries will be processed as check payment method. If any employee has any bank account, obviously it is going to be mapped to the corresponding bank account. Okay. Any questions in this particular page?
Sir, what is the consolidation group for?
I told you, right? Consolidation group is to group your payrolls under one particular umbrella. So when this is only for your reports purpose. When you run the report, you don't have to run these payrolls separately, because let's say 500 employees belongs to one payroll, 300 employees belongs to another payroll. Like that, I have 6 different payrolls. I don't have to run the report for each and every payroll separately. I'm talking about reports, not payroll process. So you just have to run the consolidation group. You just run the report using consolidation group. Obviously, all the people who belongs to the corresponding payrolls will be part of that particular report. Basically, this is a reporting purpose. You see here, select from all the defined consolidation groups. Okay, here if you keep here, it will tell you, including the consolidation created for your legislative data group. This is basically reporting purpose. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Any questions in this page?
Yes, Srini.
Please. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, for one employee, can we say that 70% we want to pay bank transfer and 30% we want to pay by check? Is it possible?
We can. I'm going to show in the transactions.
Okay.
Yes, Srini, just one doubt here regarding the first period ended.
Yes.
So, could you please just explain again that actually I just not able to understand that part. So if you can just explain in the way you have explained for the negative balance, very much helpful.
See, first period end date is basically what is the first payroll period you are processing in the system using the Fusion payroll. When system is live, obviously system is live from January 1st, for example, or January or February, March, whatever, whenever the system is live. Meaning the client is started using this application. So When they run the payroll, obviously all previous payroll processes are already there in the legacy system, whatever the current system is. Now, when that organization, when the client is processing employee salaries, first period in the Fusion application, that period you are going to select here. Why we are selecting first period here is, let's say I have created this one January 1st. I mean, the system is live from January 1st. 2020, and my payroll period and my first payroll. Let's say this is a monthly payroll, for example. Let's forget about bi-weekly. So January 1st is live. So January salary should be processed in the application, right?
Yes.
Is live means live. What does system live means? They started using the application. So if you don't process employee salaries for January month, and you are trying to process employee salaries for February month, system will not allow you, because your payroll period is already there, which is unprocessed. January month I have not processed, because I said system is live from January 1st and payroll periods are starting from January 1st to 31st January, February 1st to 20th February, like that. You cannot process a payroll directly February month or March month or July month without processing the first periods. If system is live from January 1st and define payroll like that, you have to start processing payroll from day one. So that day one, that particular what is that particular first period? That's what we are defining here. So you have to start your payroll in the Fusion application from this period onwards, 6th to 19th. That is the first payroll period, which is processed in this application. Then 20th to 2nd, 3rd to whatever date again, you keep on processing employee salaries. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thanks.
Srinivasa, I'm having one doubt.
Yeah.
In consolidation group, you are having a four types. How you process those things?
What 4 types?
Managers, clerks, and
You mean to say payrolls? You mean to say payrolls, right?
yes. Yes. In consolidation group, you are having a 4 types.
No. There is no types in consolidation group. Remember, consolidation group is just a one group which you are grouping your payrolls under one name. That's it.
Okay.
So this is only used when it comes to the reporting purpose to build the reports. That's it. When you are processing employee salaries, suppose I have 4 payrolls, monthly payroll, let's say manager payroll, clerical payroll, and whatever payrolls. You have to process those payrolls individually. You cannot process all the payrolls at a time. Okay.
Yeah, this default payment method, it comes in picture only when no bank details are provided, or even when we are have not selected any payment method from below 2.
See, this one comes only when employee doesn't have any bank accounts. See, these payment methods, when I linked it here as a valid payment methods, meaning this payroll can use these two. It doesn't mean that these two are mandatory for this. This payroll can use these 2 payment methods to pay employee salaries. Fine. Now, when I hire an employee, I am going to select this or this for that employee. Okay, that employee will get employee's salary through bank transfer. Then I am going to select this payment method in the employee screen. If I wanted to pay only check to that employee, I am going to select this payment method to the employee. This is used for that purpose. But this one is, if you don't enter anything, employee hired and there is no payment method, so by default it will take this.
I was asking if we have entered the bank details for the employee, but we haven't selected any payment method out of the 2 below 2.
No. Without payment method, you cannot enter bank details.
Okay.
So when you are attaching bank details, first you have to select bank payment method. Then only the bank details will be enabled to enter.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. See, if you attach check payment method, obviously in the employee screen, you will not see bank details to enter. The fields will not be appeared. When you choose the bank transfer payment method in the employee screen, then the bank details will be enabled and you can enter which bank, what is the bank account of that employee. Okay, so that is what the valid payment methods are. Next. Okay, see here number of years. So meaning by default it is 1. Generally our common practice is we will keep it 10. What does this mean? This means next 10 years. See, I have created a first payroll period end date like 6th to 19th January. So 20th January to 2nd February, 3rd February to whatever 15th or 19th February, like that. This payroll periods will be generated up to next 10 years. See, increment of years ahead that payroll cycle dates are calculated. See, the moment when I keep 10 years, see in the next page, I will come back here. What is this offset details? See, next 10 years, payroll periods will be generated. Look at that. The first payroll period I have selected 6th January to 19th January, right? Then 20th Jan to 2nd February, 3rd Feb to 16th February, 17th Feb to 1st March, 2nd March to 15th March, like that. The payroll periods will be generated for next 10 years up to 2030. Why these payroll periods are required to create? Because when you are running the payroll for employees, you have to tell the system which period you are processing. Am I processing employee salary for this period or that period or that period? Otherwise, how does the system know that? So that is the reason when you are processing employee salaries, you are going to select, okay, this payroll and this period. So that period only the salaries will be processed. So in order to select the period, you have to select this 10 years and all so that the periods will be generated. See, payroll time periods. So I'm just going back. If I select here 5 years, in next step, you will see only up to 5 years payroll periods only. Okay. Now coming back to this offset details. Okay, these offset details are optional, but yeah, there are certain mandatory, certain few things are there. Planned submission date. You see here, date on which the payroll run is planned for submission. So if you say period end date means, suppose I am processing for 6th January to 19th January payroll. So obviously the payroll period end date is 19th January 2020. So this planned submission date, if I keep it like 2 days after, 2 calendar days after period end date, meaning I am planning to submit my payroll run. I am planning to run my payroll on 21st. 19th is my payroll period end date, but I am planning to run the payroll on 21st. If my payroll period is in 20th to 2nd or 20th to 2nd of February, so I am planning to run the payroll on 4th February for that period. So again, this is only planned. It doesn't mean that you have to process 2 days after your payroll period ended. It is only for information purpose. Then cutoff date. Cutoff date, last date on which the payroll information can be entered for the pay period. So last date on which payroll information can be entered for the pay period, meaning suppose obviously you will enter certain payroll data, right? Maybe you will enter some elements, some bonus elements, I don't know, depending on your requirement and payroll processing this thing. So let's say the period is 6th January to 19th January. For that period, employees generally get their fixed salaries and all. On top of that, maybe you may enter certain payroll information. So that information on what is the last date, what is the cutoff date that you have to enter. Maybe you can keep it 0 or you can keep it, you can just 2 days advance or 2 days after. It's up to your client requirement. payslip availability date, date on which the employee can view their payslip. So maybe I will take it 2 days after. Obviously, for 6th to 19th January, when I run the payroll, maybe I have to show my payslip after 2 days from the payroll period end date, meaning 21st onwards, I wanted to show the payslip. That's what happens usually. When a March salary is processed, especially in our organizations, let's say monthly payroll. So for March month, I will be able to see my payslip only after 4th of next month. That is a common practice in our organization. So for March salary, I will be able to see my payslip only after 4th April. For April month salary, when my salary I got received on 30th April or 1st May, I will be able to see my payslip only on or after 4th May. So if that is a requirement, you keep it that date here, dates. Okay, 2 calendar days or 3 calendar days or 4 calendar days after payroll period end date. That is a payslip availability date to the employees to see. Okay. Then payroll run date. Date used to retrieve effective values by the payroll process, such as date paid. So again, this will be usually your payroll period end date. Okay, I wanted to process employee salary, whatever element values I have as of that date. Usually that is the common scenario. Similarly, date earned is also date used to identify the element entries to be included in the payroll run. So that is also usually as of that date, whatever elements I have, I want to run those elements for that particular payroll period. So date paid. Lastly, date paid. Date paid is date on employees paid by the payroll. Usually that will be also on same date. So these things will be depending on the client. Usually we will, this is also generally we will just plan submission. Generally the payslip availability date is what you change usually. Then you go to next. So accordingly, your dates will be generated. You see here, suppose 6th January to 19th January, for this payroll period, my payslip is available on 23rd January. 20th January to 2nd February, I will be able to see my payslip only on or after 6th February, because I said 4 days after my payroll period end date. So that I will be able to see payslip only after 4 days from the payroll period end date. So like that, you have all these payroll periods generated. Then go to next. This is some, you can enter the costing account here, accounting flex field and cost allocation place. So you enter a costing details here. Go to next. Okay, this is the review page, whatever you have created. So then you can say submit. Okay, so I have my US. So I have my payroll here. This is our payroll. Okay. Any questions? Payroll definition.
In that date paid, we can set like 2 days before or 3 days before.
You can. That's what, again, that is again purely based on client requirement.
No, but sometimes like the requirement is for last working day of the period. So what about that?
Sorry, come again. Some requirement.
Sometimes the requirement is like last working day of the period.
Last working day of the
period.
Okay, that's what we have defined standard. Okay, not here. You go to basic details. Yeah. So here, date paid. You can change it. Okay, you can change this. Okay. Anyone else has any questions here?
Can we change that 4 days to maybe 1 day?
Sorry? Your voice is breaking. I mean,
You said the payslip end date you give.
payslip availability date.
It said that at 4 days, no?
Yes.
Yes. You kept that 4 days. Can you keep it on the date or next day?
You can.
One day.
You can. It's up to requirement. That's what I said. It's not like 4 days. You can keep it like 3 days, or you can keep it on 0 days. I wanted to make the payslip availability right from the payroll period end date onwards. And remember, when you say after 4 days or after 1 day or 0 days, that doesn't mean that automatically you will be able to see your payslip on let's say 19th. No, there is a process to run. There is a process called generate payslips. Only once you run the process, then system looks at these dates. If I don't run the payroll, for example, if I don't run the payroll, how can I see the payslip? So you have to run the payroll process, you have to run the prepayments, you have to generate payslip. Then this date validations comes into picture. Otherwise not. Again, here when I say validation, only payslip availability date has a validation. Remaining are all information purpose. Okay. That's about your payroll definition. Then we will create elements. Okay, so what is element here? So element is your salary component. So if you look at your salary structure, you are going to have your basic salary, your HRA, your transportation allowance, some income tax deduction, PF deduction, ESI deduction. If you take in US, there will be federal tax, state tax, unemployment tax. All these components we will define as a element in the system. Okay, the elements will be processed and then corresponding amounts will be calculated. So to create the element, you have a lot of classifications. You see here. Standard earnings, all the earning elements we will define under standard earnings. If you have any deductions, involuntary deductions. So depending on the type of your salary component, you are going to choose this classification. Because this classification is important, based on that the element will behave accordingly. See, your PF contribution is not a earning, right? It's a deduction. Your income tax is not a earning, it's a deduction. Your basic salary is not a deduction, it's a earning. So when you are defining those elements, you have to choose the corresponding classification properly. If you look at US, the regular salary, it is always standard earnings. The category is standard. If I am defining any tax element, it will be under employee tax deduction. But fortunately in US, we are going to see in next class, there is a concept called calculation card. Once you define those things, automatically certain elements are already generated and those elements will be processed automatically. You don't have to worry about the calculations also, because US is a delivered legislation. If it is a delivered legislation, the corresponding legislative tax elements, calculations, formulas, everything are predefined. Okay, so first of all, we have to define a salary element, right? So my salary is 100,000 yearly. So where are you keeping that amount? That's what you are going to keep here. So yeah, let us define the element. I'm just defining from 51. The element name, I will give element name as, what is the name that we can give? Regular earnings. So I'm giving the name as like this: abstract regular salary earnings. I'll say just 1, 2, 3. Better. So that is my element name. Basically, this element name is like your basic salary, your transportation. It will never be prefixing with the abstract or whatever company. Usually, the element names: transportation allowance, car allowance, bus allowance, whatever that element has name. That name you are entering here, abstract. Reporting name, again, as I said, this name will be used in your report purpose. You see, name that appears on the statement of earnings. Statement of earnings is nothing but your SOE, your payslip. Reports, pay advice, payslips and all. That name, I don't want to show the name like that. I want to show the name as regular earnings. That's it. You can keep it like that. So, description, it's a free text. You can just ignore, or you can enter what is the description of this particular element. You can keep it. Then currency. Currency is, this particular element is going to be processed in which currency? Obviously, dollar. Then the durations. Yeah, should the person eligible for the element automatically receive it? So here a lot of questions will be asked in the next step and all. Based on the questions answers, your element will be generated with the corresponding options. So make sure that it is not non-editable. Once you define the element is there. Once the element is processed, you cannot reverse. There will be an interview question where, okay, I have defined the element as a final close date. For example, I'm just giving an example. There is an element which is defined as a final close date, and then that element is processed in previous payrolls. So now my current requirement is I want that element to be updated from final close to last stand process. Is it possible? If not, what is the possible solution? This would be your general, real-time question. You can't update because the element is already processed and element is already defined in a final close. You cannot update. What you can do, you can end date that element and then whatever next period you start, you create a new element with the corresponding last ended process or whatever new requirement. And then attach that element, whoever is eligible for the previous element. That is the only way. You cannot update the element. Such questions may come in your interview. Yeah, you just. Okay, then let's start with this duration. Should every person eligible for the element automatically receive it? No. By default, we will keep it no. Basically, what does that mean? If I hire any person, that person is automatically eligible for this element. Yes or no? If the client requirement is yes, you keep it yes. Usually we will keep it no, because we have a concept called element eligibility. That's where you define which group of people are eligible for this element. So there we will select, okay, this particular set of people who belongs to this company, people who belongs to this payroll, they will be eligible. They will eligible for this element. That we will define in your element eligibility. So here we will keep it no. What is earliest entry date? Can I take 5 minutes break?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 10:55 or 54. I'll come at 11.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks. I'll have some water.
And with chapter 1.
Sorry? Yeah, okay. So we'll start here. Okay, so we are talking about durations, right? What is the earliest entry date for this element? So when employee is eligible for this element, for example, I am eligible for this element. By default, you have only one option, first standard earning date. What does that mean? That means whenever first standard earning date, whenever I hired, maybe I hired on January 15th. So 15th is my earliest entry date. Or based on eligibility, if you configured in such a way that a person is eligible for this element, then automatically the element will be attached to that employee. If you configure like that, so whenever you hire an employee, that employee gets this element automatically. But where you configure that automatic, we are going to see an element eligibility. That is one thing. Second thing, if your configuration is not automatic, your configuration is only to check, okay, this person is eligible or not. If person is eligible, yes, you have to attach it manually. In that case, whenever you attach, whatever date you attach, from that date onwards, this element will be applicable to that employee. If that scenario, your first standard earning date is your earliest entry date. So this is okay, fine, it's easy. Coming to this latest entry date, this is where you see all this. Okay, forget about this. Someone has defined. Only these three are the standard drop downs. Final close date, last standard earning date, last standard process date. So which option select for this element? Again, depending on the element requirement. Suppose your client says that every element, you see, I have a number of elements like basic salary, HRA, bonus, transportation elements like that. You have to define all those elements individually. Anyway, you have that data loader anyway, but you have to define all those elements like this with the proper options. One element may be last standard process date, another element can be a final close date. So when you're defining element itself, you have to take the requirements properly from the client. Okay, when this element will be processed, do we have option, do we have a requirement to process the element even after termination, things like that. So based on those requirements, you have to choose these options. Say if I select last standard earning date, meaning whenever the person is resigned, his actual termination date, last working day. So as of that date, this element will be applicable. See, if you take a payroll period, what we have created, January, see, we have selected a period is 60 to 19th, correct? 60 to 19th. This is a payroll period. Suppose I hire an employee on, let's say, 3rd of February. So his payroll period start with 3rd February to 16th February. That is his payroll period, first payroll period. Again, next one 17th to 1st, 2nd to, like that. Now, if you think about this is my payroll period and the person is resigned on 12th, for example, 12th is his last working day. Now, usually when will you run the payroll? You won't run payroll every day, right? Whenever the period is done for a period 3rd February to 16th February, you may run on 16th or 17th or 19th, depending on the client to client, their business process. So if person is terminated on 12th and he resigned and he is leaving the organization from the 12th. So if you select this element as a last standard earning date, you will not be able to process this element after 12th. So you have to process on 12th. Then only that element will be processed for that employee. Meaning you are doing the final settlement then and there. In 12th itself, you have to run his payroll individually. You can run one person employee's payroll or you can run payroll for all the employees. So if your requirement is to run for then and there, you can just run on 12th so that this element can be processed. Suppose if you run the payroll along with other employees, say on 16th, this element will not be processed because this element is a last standard earning date. His actual termination date is 12th. So if you run on payroll on 16th for the whole period, on 16th that element is not available for that employee. So that element will not be processed. Last standard process date is nothing but your actual payroll period end date. Your payroll period end date. Suppose on 3rd to 16th. So it doesn't matter. Person terminates on 6th or 13th or 12th or 9th. It doesn't matter. That element will be available to process as of 16th period end date. Basically, that particular period end date. So if you define that element as a final close date means, when you are terminating an employee, after termination, yes, that element will be processed in that particular payroll period. Okay. But even after termination, maybe after 3 months or 2 months, if you wanted to run that particular element, system allows you to process that element for the terminated employee. Such requirement is there. Yes. You define that element as a final close date. Any questions here?
This first standard earning rate applies to when case when an employee is hired in the middle of the week also. Like
it doesn't matter. Employee hires, that hire date will be his first standard earning date. Always.
And the element will be processed at the end of the process day, like
yes. Again, that depends on this particular.
Oh yes. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello.
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 Yes, please go ahead. Who is that? Yeah. Any questions here? Anyone? Last standard process, earliest entry date or latest entry date. Do you have any questions up to here? No? Okay, fine. Let's move on. Okay, so now standard rules. So at which employment level should this element be attached? So we all know that maybe in core HR, probably you might know that we are not using the 3-tier architecture model. You have employment terms and all, right? So we are not using 3-tier architecture model. So there is no employment terms now. So always your element will be attached at assignment level only. Okay. Then, does this element recur each payroll period or does it require explicit entry? So recurring, basically this is whether this element is a recurring element or non-recurring element. So if this element is a recurring element, meaning once I attach this element to the employee, so every payroll period, this element will be automatically processed. This element is available in the employee screen and it will be processed automatically. You don't have to enter, you don't have to select this element for that employee every payroll period. This element is already there in the element entries for all the payroll periods. Once you attach it, it's a recurring. Suppose your payroll is a monthly payroll. Suppose you take basic salary is one element. Basic salary is obviously a recurring element. Once I attach to the employee, every month you have to get that basic salary, right? That employee should get basic salary every month. So every month you should not go to the employee screen and attach this basic salary. Why? Because it's already there every month. Why should I attach manually? So that such elements you will define under recurring element. Non-recurring element is nothing but once you attach the element to the employee, only in that particular payroll period that element will be processed. If you look at the next payroll period, this element will be gone. Again, if you wanted to process that element for that payroll period, you have to enter manually. Such elements will be defined under non-recurring elements. Okay, recurring, non-recurring. Process the element only once in each payroll period. Yes. See, in a payroll period, you wanted to process this element only once or twice. Obviously, you will not process multiple times. You will process only one time. So I never come across scenario to process multiple times. Only one time. Can a person have more than one entry of this element in a payroll period? No. Because I will not have two basic salary elements in one payroll period, right? In January, I will get only one basic salary, one entry. In February, one entry. March, one entry. Every payroll period, I will have only one entry. I will not have multiple entries. So it's always no. Process and pay elements separately or other earnings. So here, process and pay with other earnings. By default, we will define this element as process and pay with other earnings. If you select second option, process separately but pay with other earnings. If you select this option, this element will not be processed with other elements. You have to process this element for all the employees separately, and then it will be paid with other earnings as it is. So when you run the payroll, this element will not be processed. Remaining all elements will be processed, but this element will not be processed. You have to process this separately. Then, but the payment will be done automatically. Along with other earnings. And there is another requirement: process separately, pay separately. Suppose there is one element which I don't want to process along with the payroll, and I don't want to pay in a payslip. I want it to process separately and pay separately, like bonus or variable pay. So such elements you define under process separately, pay separately. Okay, any questions here? Basic information. No questions? Okay.
Srini, how we can set up?
Sorry, how can set up what? I didn't get you.
Variable pay amounts.
Variable pay?
Variable pay amounts. In our organization, variable payments are paying yearly. Okay, for this element, how can we set up? It's recurring or non-recurring?
No, it's a non-recurring, obviously. It's a non-recurring, it's a one-time payment. In a year, maybe April or January, or depending on the company to company, they are going to pay, right? So such element, what we will do, we will define under non-recurring. And again, sometimes what happens, variable pay will be paid along with the salary in the month of March for the financial year. If that is a requirement, you just keep it like process and pay with other earnings. Certain companies, what they do, that particular variable pay will be paid in some month, in the middle of the month. It's not with the payroll. Separately they will process and separately they will pay. If you say like that, that element will be defined under process separately and pay separately.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Then go to next. Yeah. Here, what is the calculation rule? So based on this calculation rule, we choose input values will be automatically generated. What is input value? So this is my element. So in this element, I will have a number of input values. Like I suppose this particular element is calculated based on rate into hours, number of hours I worked into per hour rate. Then that amount is going to be calculated and paid in the pay value. So I'm going to show you the input values anyway, but here we will say hours into rate or percentage of earnings, depending on the requirement you choose here. Then what is the default periodicity of this element and periodicity conversion rule? Hey guys, 1 minute, 1 second. I have a call. 1 minute. Okay, coming to the calculation rules. So calculation rules, again, depending on the option we choose here, the corresponding input values will be generated. Then what is the default periodicity of this element? See, depending on the requirement we choose here, usually I will select annually for the regular salary. Regular salary in the sense, see, I am using this element for my salary basis purpose. We are going to see what is salary basis. So when you hire an employee, I will say, okay, this person's salary is 16 lakhs. This person's salary, if you look at US, this person's salary is 100,000 USD per annum. This person's salary is 200,000 per annum, 200,000 USD per annum, like that. So you are considering yearly amount. So this particular element is holding that yearly amount, and it will be calculated anyway, based on period, bi-weekly and all. That you don't have to worry about that. We are going to see that also. Now periodicity conversion rule, always it will consider assignment working hours. So we never used these standard rate and all. We used only assignment working hours annualized. So if I am working 40 hours bi-weekly or 80 hours bi-weekly, accordingly it will calculate. Now coming to the special rules. Is this element subjected to proration? Yes or no? If you say yes, what is the proration group and proration units? Is it a workday, daily, hourly, depending on the requirement? Then conversion rules, assignment. So basically, what is proration? Yeah, these two doesn't matter for us for our calculations. The important thing is this one. What is proration? So I'm going to cover that anyway separately. We have separate concept called proration and retro event groups. There I'm going to cover in detail what is proration, what is retro. But for now, think that, okay, yes, I wanted to prorate this element. And I'm going to enter the proration group here. So basically high level, what is proration? If my salary is updated in the middle of the payroll period, that amount should be paid based on the proration. For example, my salary is 10,000 monthly. Okay, my salary is 10,000 monthly. So if my salary is updated on 15th January from 10,000 to 20,000. Okay, suppose this is not prorated. For example, this is not prorated. This element is not prorated. So what will happen? My salary is 10,000 monthly. Let's say March month, for example, March 15th, my salary become 10,000 to 20,000. So when I'm getting monthly salary. So when I run the salary, when I run the payroll for March month, what is the salary I get? I get 10,000 or 20,000?
$10,000.
Anyone?
10,000.
Sorry? Yes, basically, see, look at, if there is no proration, nothing, remember one standard rule. Every time, any time my payroll is processed, always my payroll looks at payroll period end date element values. Remember that. The payroll period can be monthly or bi-weekly, doesn't matter. When you run the payroll, system automatically looks at payroll period end date. Suppose I am processing my salary for March, it will always looks at March 31st. What are the elements I have and what is the value that element is holding. So 31st March, my element is this and it is not holding 10,000, but it is holding 20,000 because I have updated that element on 15th March, middle of the month. So I get 20,000. Not 10,000. Not only 15th March. If you update that element on 30th March from 10,000 to 20,000, remember, if you update that element on 30th March from 10,000 to 20,000 without this proration, still my proration is no. Even then, if you process that element on that, if you process employee salary, he is going to get 20,000 because system looks at as of 31st March, what is the element value. Obviously, from 31st March onwards, you are saying 20,000. Up to 31st, it's 10,000. But still, it looks at payroll period end date element input values. Standard rule. So you get 20,000. Now, when I enable proration, what will happen? It will be prorated. Okay, my salary is updated from 10,000 to 20,000 on 15th March. So first 15 days, it will calculate based on 10,000. Next 15 days, it will calculate based on 20,000. Average, I will get 15,000 for that month. Not 10,000, not 20,000. I will get 15,000 for March month. April month onwards, I will get 20,000 anyway. That is called proration. How does system know that this amount should be prorated or not prorated? All those things. How does system know that? That we are defining under proration group. You can select abstract proration group, or you can create your own proration groups. This is a standard delivered proration group given by Oracle, but you can create. We are going to see how to create, where to create, and all. That is called proration. Then what is retro? If you say if you enable retro, again you can enter the retro group. So what is retro? Retro is basically your backdated payments. If you wanted to process a salary from 2 months back, maybe there is a salary change and you want it to effective from maybe 2 months back onwards, you will enable the retro. Basically it's a backdated changes, retroactive changes. Okay, so these FLSA rules is basically related to your overtime and all, or time and labor related calculations. So we'll keep it no. Time and module is there, then we will ask them to enter whatever they want. Any questions here? So when I select proration, when I select retro, system will automatically create a number of elements, especially retro. You don't have to worry about element creation. System will create automatically an element and the corresponding fast formulas. Everything will be generated automatically, especially legislations, delivered legislations. Otherwise, you have to write all the formulas, maybe with help of technical. Okay, any questions on this page? Then you go to next. Okay, so just review page. When you submit, it is going to take time. It will not create just like that, because you see, when I define this element, it is not defining just an element. It is creating element. It is creating the corresponding elements like retro element and other elements. It is also creating a fast formula, legislative formula, because it's a US legislation. By default, US related, legislative formula will be created. It will be created standard processing rules. It will create a input values. All these things will be automatically generated. We are going to see anyway. It will take a little while. Maybe it takes sometimes 1 minute, 2 minutes. Meanwhile, you can ask me questions if you have any.
Srinivas, I'm having one question.
Yeah.
Is there any default element defined by the Oracle Fusion?
Yeah. Tax elements are default. You don't have to create them.
Okay.
I am just creating a regular earnings element. That's it. You see, when I run the payroll, automatically the unemployment deductions, federal tax deductions, state union, all these deductions also elements, right? They are also elements.
Yes.
So they are already there in the system. I mean, I have not created. Oracle is delivered.
Suppose take India's payroll, basic, HRA, like that. Elements are there.
If you take India, see, if you look at EBS, I don't know who are from EBS and all. So in EBS, India is a delivered legislation.
Okay.
But in Fusion, still it is yet to come. The legislation is not delivered for India.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are implementing for India, everything you have to create manually, even the tax elements, everything.
Okay.
And you have to write a formula to calculate it.
For US, what are all the earnings you have to define, and all the deductions also you have to define?
See, earnings, basically the regular earnings we will define usually.
Okay.
Other than that, if they have any other earnings like bonus, I don't know what are all. Usually only regular earnings we will have.
Okay.
US. But deductions, yes, you have tax elements, especially US taxation element.
Okay.
That is there. You don't have to worry about those things. But in order to, those elements processed and calculated based on the formulas and all, we have a concept called calculation card, tax calculation cards.
Okay.
We have to define that, because you see, otherwise, how does the system know that I am implementing for Washington or I am implementing for California, and federal tax, I don't have an issue. But when it comes to state tax, it is different from one state to another state. Correct?
Yes.
Again, depending on unemployment, one state will have unemployment deduction, another state may not have that unemployment deduction and all. So we are going to define calculation cards, and we are going to tell the system that, okay, for each state, these are the conditions. So those conditions will be given by the client. We are going to see that anyway. We are going to define the calculation card. Actually, I have already defined. I will show you. I will open that. Anyway, that is a concept we have to yet to cover. So based on that calculation card, your tax elements, deduction elements, everything will be created. Again, when I say deduction element, not all deduction elements will be created. You see, you take salary advance, for example. So that is not delivered, right? That is not a legislative element.
Okay.
I have taken salary advance, I have to pay back to my company. That is a standard deduction and all. So you have to define them manually, such deductions.
Okay.
Okay.
The configurations which we did in this element are like specific to the element type or general for all any element type?
No. You see, this particular questions, this particular element based on the classification name.
So the set of questions vary from one classification to the other.
Yes. But remaining classifications may not have these many questions. This is the highest questionnaire that we have for standard earnings. That's the reason I took this one. Maybe in remaining deduction elements and all, I don't have any correlation.
And also, like we said that last process period date and standard earning date and all. So we haven't defined any periods or haven't linked any definition to this element.
No, we defined, right? Standard, last standard process date. Because last standard process date, last final close date, they are all related to payroll definition. Payroll period end date is my last standard process date.
But we haven't set any definition in this element.
We defined, right? We defined last standard process date. You see?
No, but like that is monthly or bi-weekly or we haven't defined that.
See, element is not monthly or bi-weekly. See, whenever I attach this element to the employee, based on his payroll, this element will be automatically processed. If my payroll is bi-weekly, this element will be processed bi-weekly. If my payroll is monthly, this element will be processed monthly.
So we attach the element to the employee and the payroll definition to the employee, and then they work in tandem.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Now you see this element is generated. Now look at that, how many input values are automatically generated. These are all called input values. You don't have to worry about all these things. You see here, there is a fast formula generated automatically. You see, this is the fast formula created automatically. Let me show you that formula. Why? Because you see, this formula is a legislative formula. You know, you should not touch this formula if you are very much aware of formula, especially legislative things. You please touch it. Otherwise, ask technical people to touch if there is any change or anything you wanted to write. Usually, these are LDG legislative formulas. Don't you know? I think I have somewhere. I just wanted to show you the formula. That's it. Yeah, this is the formula. You see, this is created automatically. Oracle by Oracle. So it takes input values, prorations, because we enabled prorations. Because it takes states, country, because you see, this will be different from state to state, because the state to state, your taxations will be different. Not only this formula is going to call another formula. You see here, these are the standard formulas given by Oracle. It is getting state code because state codes are important to define your logic. It's calling a lot of other formulas. Look at that. This is the reason I said don't touch this formula, don't modify, don't edit unless and until if there is any requirement. Check with your technical people and ask them. You should not remove anything from here. You can only add whatever you want on top of this existing. If you touch these things, your tax calculations and everything will be gone. So yeah, this is the formula that automatically generated. Okay, now coming to our element. So whatever we have defined, the questions answered, so they come here. You see here, recurring element, employment level. This is a process in payroll. When I am processing in payroll run, this is not an automatic entry. Standard earnings, last standard process date. Now this element is eligible for which group of people? That is my element eligibility. That is called my element eligibility. You have to define element eligibility. So create element eligibility. So element eligibility, you define that name, and then you can give the criteria. Who are all eligible for this? I am saying, okay, people belong who are, you can go by legal employer, our company. You can say people belongs to this company. And people belongs to this payroll. What the payroll we have defined? Did we define payroll? What happened to the payrolls? The payroll should come here. Oh, okay, fine. Because we have defined payroll from 1/1/2019. That is the reason that the payroll is not showing up. Let me just do one thing quickly. I cannot modify the start date of once you defined. So make sure that you cannot modify those things. That is another problem here. So make sure when you are configure in proper way. See why our payroll is not appeared here, because of this, because we have defined our payroll from 2019. This is the reason the payroll is not showing up there. No, this is not our payroll, right?
This one only.
Yeah, this one only. Okay, fine. Sorry, this one only. 1, 2, 3. 2019. Yeah. So you cannot change the effective date here. from 1/1/2019. That you cannot modify that. That is this date is not, you cannot modify this date. So when you are defining your EC effective start date is, you cannot modify that. Let's try it once again. I don't know, because we have not used this one. Maybe this allows to modify. No, freezed. Okay, anyway, it's fine because we defined this legal employer. This is fine because anyway we are hiring, we hire employee in this particular company only. So you can select this legal employer from this effective date, and then you can submit.
Srinivas, that payroll effective date also 1/1/51 should be. It should be.
If you wanted to attach properly, yes, you can define the payroll definition as 1/1/51. But anyway, your payroll even though the payroll definition start from 1/1/51, but your first payroll period end date is what very important. That date is remains same. This is the first payroll period you process in this system.
Okay.
It doesn't matter you create on 51 or 19 or 20 or whatever date that. Basically, when you are configuring these payroll configurations, make sure that these effective dates are in sync, so that otherwise this problem comes. See, I'm trying to attach the payroll. I'm trying to create element eligibility who are eligible. I am saying okay, this payroll, but this payroll is not created as of 1st January 51, right? It is there from 2019. That's the reason I'm unable to attach this payroll. So otherwise, what I have to do, I have to go here 1/1/2019. Then you can update here. From 2019, right?
Yes.
You can create another eligibility profile. You can create another eligibility profile from that date, from 2019. And then you say you can link that payroll. You can do that, but as I said, it is always suggestible to, date should be sync. You can create another eligibility profile from 2019 date onwards, and then attach that particular thing. Okay, so this is what the element definition we have. Now, if you search that element, what is the element definition name that I have? Okay, this is the element, right? Yeah, look at that. I have created only one element, but look at that how many elements are being created. This is our element, but calculator, distributor, results, retro results, these elements are created automatically. So these elements will be processed in your payroll. Calculator, I will tell you when we run the payroll, I'm going to tell you what is this element for. So because this is the reason it took a lot of time to create all these elements. Okay. So that's about your elements. Any questions, payroll and elements? Tomorrow, not tomorrow, sorry, Monday, we are going to see the balance definitions, and then balance groups, balance definitions, and then event groups, sorry, balances and event groups. If time permits, we are going to see salary basis also in the same class. Event groups, balance definitions, salary basis. So these things we are going to see on Monday. Any questions?
Srinivas, you had shown primary classifications, right? So those are all seeded values, or
Yes.
it is extendable?
No, you see, those comes from where? You have to recall. Remember, we created configure payroll legislation. yesterday. So there you are enabling, anyway, US legislation is not allowed to enable or disable, but that is the place where you enable your classifications. So whatever classifications enabled in that configure payroll legislations, those classifications will be appeared in this drop-down list, primary classifications. You cannot, cannot add, you cannot modify there because US is freezed. Okay. So I have another 15 minutes. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, we can close it today and we'll start on Monday. The remaining things.
I was asking when we created a bi-weekly period type for the payroll, if we create a calendar month period, so the last day will not automatically be maybe it's a weekend, maybe it's a working day. So I was asking that time if we want to set the last working day of the calendar month, how can we set that?
Of what? You said bi-weekly payroll again last calendar month. Those two are conflicting.
In bi-weekly, we set the last day as automatically as a Sunday. But,
okay, fine.
If you take a calendar month as the payroll period, so it's not necessarily it will be a Sunday or a Monday. So if you want to set the day to be paid to the employee as the last working day of that calendar month.
See, date paid is always month end. And that doesn't mean that, suppose March 31st falls on Sunday, right? Are you paying only up to Friday? Because March 31st falls on Sunday, I don't want to pay. I wanted to pay only up to Friday. Not like that, right? You are going to pay till Sunday, right? But date paid, if I keep it there on 31st, that doesn't mean that you are paying on 31st. System allows you to pay on 1st or 2nd or 3rd. It's fine. That field is only information field.
No, we are paying for the entire month, but the payroll is processed and the amount is credited into the employee's account on the last working day.
Sometimes 2 days before also, some of the clients. If my month end falls on Saturday and Sunday, usually, I don't know how many of you observed, we will get our salary on Friday itself, right?
That is what I'm asking. The last working day, the salary is credited into the employee's account.
So, here in the payroll definition, nowhere you are restricting that the salary will be processed and will be paid only on end of the month, not before or not after. Even if I define 2 days before, 3 days before, it's up to you when you process the payroll, because payroll process anyway you have to run manually. So always you run the payroll on 26th or 25th and then you pay it on 27th or 28th. It's fine. System will not restrict you to pay that amount.
And that criteria is not fixed, we can edit it every month if you want.
No, that's only information. That's what I said. Even if the criteria says that month end and falls on Sunday, system will not restrict you to process the salary on 2 days before or 2 days after. That's what I'm saying. It's just information field. You can process at any time you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, can we have a small session on of fast formulas in the next week, if possible?
I said, right, I'm going to answer your questions.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Sure. We'll have next week. Once we are done with payroll, maybe I will complete this session by Tuesday or mostly Wednesday. So maybe if time is there on Wednesday, 1 hour extra, or Thursday, we can have 1 hour session. I will answer all your questions. Please, that's what I said. Please note down all the questions that you have, doubts you want, clarifications you need. So we will discuss in that class. No problem.
So what about tomorrow class? There won't be a class anymore?
No, on Monday.
Okay.
Okay, so any questions? Okay, fine. If you don't have any questions, we are good to go. So I'm going to take class again same time on Monday. Probably again Monday also I'm going to take for 2 hours. So I can finish those salary basis, balance definitions, and event groups. Those 3 concepts I can cover on the Monday. Okay, guys. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you.